If your media buyer or agency is only looking at platform data to make decisions, you're gonna wanna watch this. What do I mean by platform data? I mean, when they optimize your ad account, they're only looking at Facebook ads, Meta ads, or they're only looking at Google ads. They're not looking at what happens deeper. For example, if someone clicks on your ad or books a call and it shows up on Facebook, they're like, hey, I'm getting you booked calls. But what happens if those calls don't convert? What happens if they get you 30 booked calls and all of them are no-shows? What does that media buyer do? If they're not the ones proactively coming to you and saying, hey, it looks like these are not good quality calls, it looks like something's going wrong here, then you probably have a problem. Let me show you exactly what I mean in an ad account right here. Okay, so here you can see in this ad account, if I'm just looking at the campaign level and I'm looking at this campaign, I see that it has spent $6,296. And I see from the platform metrics on Meta, the click-through rate is pretty decent. I can see that we're getting a lot of phone numbers for the business to call. And I can see that we're getting, 37 people that actually booked on a calendar. And a lot of media buyers would say, hey man, I'm getting 37 calls, $170 cost per call, we're doing great. But if you actually click in here and you use a third-party tool like Hyros, which I have populating here, so you can actually see what happens on the back end with these calls. Right here, you can see we've got 43 booked calls, right? $114 per call. And I can actually, click on this and see what the booked calls are, who the emails are, all that stuff that you couldn't see in Facebook. But only one customer has come from these 43 calls. I don't know about you, but 1 out of 43, less than a 3% close rate, not an ideal close rate, right? So most businesses would not be happy with that. In other words, the media buyer might see that they're booking a lot of calls, getting a lot of leads on the calendar and be happy, but on the back end, there's a problem here. These calls are not high quality. And that's the difference between a good media buyer and not a good media buyer. Now we can compare that campaign to one that has been optimized for revenue. And when I load this one up, you see a very different result. This one has gotten 27 calls, similar cost per call, except for in this case, there've been 4 units sold on these 27 calls. It's a decent close rate, and there's profit of $25,000 on $4,000 in spend here. So that's the difference between optimizing toward profit and revenue and optimizing just for front-end metrics. A good media buyer should proactively come to you and say, hey, we've got 43 calls on the calendar, but I only see 1 close. So I'm turning off this campaign because even though we're filling up the calendars, I know that these are not the right type of people. And we have other campaigns in the account that are more profitable, getting more people booking on and actually closing. So if your media buyer is not doing this, if your media buyer isn't constantly monitoring what's actually happening on the back end with your ads, you're missing out on a lot of opportunity because optimizing your ads toward revenue is the #1 way that you can scale into cold traffic more effectively.